We are officially live. Welcome back to my pod. I'm kind of doing like a working title. I'm gonna go with "Tell Me About It." That's gonna be the name of the pod. That's what I think it's gonna be. I may change it later, but
I like
we're,
it. Cool.
we're gonna go with that. So the "Tell Me About It" podcast. This will be episode 4. We're decided to switch it up a little bit and not just do jiu-jitsu content. Today's guest is gonna be my former guitar teacher.
Yeah.
Former guitar and vocal teacher. Actually, they're both with you.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, give us a little introduction about yourself, Chris.
Sure. Is there anything specific you want me to cover? Anything you want me to talk about that would be interesting to you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, how about we just get started with? What? Give me like a just breakdown of how you got started in music. Like, what made you want to become a teacher in the
Sure.
first place?
Sure. I mean, I started off like most musicians. I did a lot of like gigging and stuff like that. And then I realized I kind of wanted to be able to do my laundry on the weekends. And so gigs don't really pay as much as they used to. So I decided to go towards the teaching route. And I've been doing that. I'll be 34 in under 20 days, probably like 15 days or something like that. February 9th, whatever the date of this today is. So I've been doing that for 14 years, and man, it's been great. I mean, I kind of like took to it. I like teaching. I like working with people. I'm kind of more of a high energy, feed off energy type of guy. So computer screens don't really work for me. Coding was out, that was just not going to fly. So the in-person teaching stuff works great, feels good. It's nice to work with people who are interested in what they're doing and they're spending their extra time of their day pursuing that goal. So,
Well, and like, what was like the first? I guess just to get like kind of like some background on your musical taste. What was like the first bands you got into when you were younger?
oh man, when I was younger, I probably didn't get into music till I was like 13, 14. Mostly music that my dad listened to. So it was like a lot of classic rock. It was Toto, it was Styx, it was Queen, it was Queensryche, which is kind of an off the wall one, but my dad liked them too. So kind of stuff like that, 80s, 70s, 60s classic rock, although not as much 60s to be honest. So a lot of classic rock stuff. I kind of moved in as a teenager into what was popular around my generation at that time, which was like Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, either a lot of that post-grunge stuff, 2000s rock. So that would be like my cup of tea and kind of like where I got my start. And then I kind of branched all over after that. I goes all over the place at this point. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think similar to me, just like as far as musical taste. I don't. For me, actually, I took like a strange route, I guess, because I got into the Beatles at first. Like, I mean, they're obviously everybody knows them, but I read a book on them, and then I just really got into them and other classic rock like AC/DC and all that. But for me, I never heard my parents' taste of music too much. Like a little bit. Like my mom listens to music. Like at least when I was younger, it was all in Spanish, so I didn't know. Like I couldn't tell you anybody. And then my stepdad, he liked like Jay-Z and like 50 Cent, stuff like that.
yeah,
So his was a little bit like, because he's a little bit younger than my mom, so his was more like his era of growing up in the like 90s.
late 90s, probably Jay-Z and whatnot, 50 Cent. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I don't know, I don't even know his age. I'm pretty sure 40 something. So
Oh, yeah.
whatever, probably early 90s.
Yeah, he's like 10 years. If he's in his 40s, he's probably about 10 years older than me, maybe a little bit more. So,
Yeah, probably a little bit more. I don't know, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, and then like, so how about when was the first time you actually, well, what did you play first? Did you do like school? Like, did you wear the school band or did you just say, hey, I just want to play guitar right away? Like, how was your route?
no, I played trumpet first. So I started trumpet as like a fourth grader. And actually, as a guitar teacher, there's a big correlation between people who play trumpet and then go into guitar. I'd say like 30% of my student body is like ex-trumpet players. So I don't know what that correlation is, if it's because like trumpet players have big egos and like guitar players end up having big egos. That there's a running musical joke that's like when a trumpet player says hello to another trumpet player, they go, "Hello, I'm better than you." You know, kind of the way guitar players are too, to be honest. Not everybody. I'm not super ego driven or anything, but like there are definitely some guitar players that treat it like a sport. So so there is that aspect.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think with like trumpet, maybe it's based off of like, I don't know. What do you think? Like musical genres they play, like jazz or something. Maybe it's more technical and more advanced.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of trumpet, even in public schools, a lot of public schools music, even if it is like jazz or the person's like super advanced in high school or something, they're not actually that advanced. So they're just not like garbage, you know?
Yeah,
So usually it's usually the barometer. When you look back on it in high school, you think the person was like, oh, really good. And then as a professional, I look back and I go, oh no, you just weren't garbage. Like everyone else
yeah,
is bad. You just were solid, you know? Same thing with music schools. If you have the money, they'll take you. It's not even Berkeley. You know, as long as you're not awful and you got the money, they'll take you. It don't matter.
yeah. That's funny.
Money makes the world go round. They need to live and eat too.
Yeah, yeah. I remember one of my buddies told me like he was saying that he went to like some art school in like Rhode Island. And I don't know anything about like painting or stuff like that, but he said I'm gonna go with like Michael Kors. I think he said like it was like Michael Kors's daughter was at the school that he was.
Mm.
And it was just his opinion, but he was like, I don't think she was that good, but obviously she had the money to get in.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's a lot of it for sure. I mean, you don't need to be great if you're learning because the whole point is you're learning. So they do want to have like places like Berkeley and Harvard, and obviously it takes a lot to get into Harvard, but Berkeley's a little bit different story. But they want to have that prestige as a part of their school. You know, if someone says, "Hey, you went to Berkeley," there's more weight on that. You know,
yeah,
than if you went to some community college in Texas or something. Whether or not it actually makes a difference, right? I don't think it really makes a huge difference because it's more your own drive than anything else. But they want that prestige on their schools because it attracts more students, right? So that's kind of the idea, is to make your school seem prestigious. And if your school seems prestigious, then people who like that will seek it out, and more people want that than not, you know? So
yeah, that definitely makes sense. And so
yeah.
how long did you do like band in school? How long were you doing that?
Oh, I did that until 10th grade. I think I did it from fourth till 10th grade. I lost interest really starting in ninth grade because once you get to ninth or 10th, or at least where I'm from, they stopped doing actual individual lessons. So I no longer had lessons for trumpet. I was just in the band, right? So I wasn't getting any better or learning new things. It was just me doing the same stuff and then playing songs in band, which was fine, but the lesson experience was nice and fun and like gave a certain amount of accountability, right? Same thing when you took lessons with me, right? Taking lessons was a thing that made you accountable to getting something done that week because you're going to see this person and have to tell them, hey, man, I did nothing this week, which doesn't feel good, you know? You don't
Yeah,
want to tell you that. So you're like, hey, I was lazy. I just kind of sat on the couch and ate potato chips. Let's do stuff. You know, nobody wants to hear that. So, or say that. So yeah, so until about 10th grade, that's when I really closed the book. Ninth is when I started losing interest. I started playing guitar. And to be honest, I was more into guitar than I was into trumpet. I played more guitar in 1 year than I ever played in trumpet in 8. You know, I was consistent with trumpet. I did it because, you know, it was kind of an expectation, a standard, and I didn't mind doing it. But it's not like I picked it up because I was like, you know what's cool? The trumpet. You know?
yeah,
Well, yeah. So I just was like, okay, and then I did the thing, you know, and that's just kind of, I mean, that's a kid thing, right? You follow. Someone says, hey, do this, and you go, okay, and you just go do it, you know. So
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit for me. I never did band in school, but for me, I just didn't really seem too interested in like any of the instruments because I just wasn't into that type of music because I liked rock bands and they didn't really use that type of stuff. So that's why I never did it. Um, I think I remember my school they have a drum set in my middle school, and I was
mm,
like, oh, is there any way we can do that? And the teacher was just like, nah. I'm like, well, why is it there then?
that's unfortunate. We definitely had like a full drum set from time to time in the full band, but most of the time it was snare. So most of the guys who wanted to play in rock bands just learned how to play snare.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the snare drum. Like I remember when I was in high school, I actually did see that they had guitars, but that was way later on because in elementary, yeah, it was just like clarinet. I think some people do the recorder,
Mm.
uh, flutes, whatever, trumpet, like you were saying. But
I had to repick. Like, let's say you had to repick instruments. I
yeah,
would probably do either violin or piano instead of trumpet because violin or like a string instrument would lean a little bit more towards guitar. I would probably eventually play guitar anyways, but the fine motor skills are similar. So that would be an advantage. And then with piano, it's a little more chord based. So a lot of that stuff would transfer a little better than necessarily guitar did or trumpet did to guitar. So if I had to repick or go back in time and choose, that's probably what I would do.
Gotcha. Yeah. What was the first guitar you got?
Man, what was the first guitar I got? I got two first guitars. So I had a first acoustic, which was this Kona guitar from Japan, which was out of like a beginner guitar dummies book thing that my parents got me for my 15th or for Christmas when I was 15.
Yeah.
And it was just as a disaster of a guitar. I was really committed to learning how to play, so it didn't matter. But the action was like, so far the action, if people listening don't know that, so the space between the strings and the fretboard, essentially how much space there is, how high your strings are up. So it was terrible. I could fit like a pink eraser underneath the thing. So it made it so much harder to play. I didn't realize that at the time until I got my first electric guitar, which was like a Les Paul Jr., which played great. And the action was really close. So it was way easier for me. I mean, not that I was great at guitar, to be honest. It kind of sucked in the first year, like pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty but I kept with it because I was really interested in doing it. And so I put a lot of time into it. And my parents were like, it's a phase. And now I own 3 music schools, so here we are.
Yeah. Mine was probably similar to what you were saying. As my parents got me a like a wall. I in my mind it was like a Walmart guitar. I don't know. If that's where they got it.
Was it First Act?
Maybe. Well, I think so because it came with a little amp, and I feel like that's what it was called, First Act amp guitar, whatever.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I feel like, well, nowadays there's so many options, but we probably should have just gone and like Guitar Center and got like a cheap beginner one. It probably would have been better.
Yeah, I mean the Walmart's First Act thing is probably like $80, $100 or something. You could get a standard like Yamaha, which I think is usually the go-to for beginner guitars at this point, at least for me. If I have a student, I tell them, what should I get about Yamaha? You can get like a 200, 250, 100, 250, 100. It's not even a number. $250 like beginner guitar, even off of Amazon. It's going to be a solid instrument. Yamaha is like a second, third name brand guitar, so you're not paying for the fact that Yamaha's sketched up at the top, you know, with like Martin and Taylor's. Martin Taylor's great instruments, but if you're buying one that's like $400, they sound like poo. So, because a lot of that price is that Martin is sketched into the top. So I would usually steer clear of first name brands when I'm selecting a guitar for someone who's brand new and just wants something decent that's not going to bankrupt them, unless they're super into it. And I did have somebody buy like what did they buy? I don't remember what they bought, but I had another guy who was a complete beginner who bought like a Steve Vai signature monkey grip guitar, Ibanez guitar, and it was like $2,000. Dude couldn't play it, you know? Okay, cool. You know, you're definitely committed now. So
I mean, some people just that kind of reminds me. Do you remember do you know Steven Seagal, the actor?
Yeah.
A long time ago, I saw this video where because he just collected a bunch of guitars because he plays music. I mean, he had like a band at one point. Obviously, he's not like professional. Yeah. He was in a band because he has money, so he was able to like buy a bunch of.
Just buy a bass player. Hey, play music with me. Okay.
He was saying crazy stuff. I don't think if I could find the video, I'll send it to you. But he was saying stuff like, "Oh, this is like Kurt Cobain's guitar or something," something like that. I swear. I think he was just lying, but he had a bunch of guitars that look nice.
I'm sure he's got money. Steven Seagal. I'm sure Steven Seagal Band. You could get some people to come out and see the Steven Seagal Band just by calling it that, you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like when Johnny Depp, he was like in a band, but I think he's actually decent, right?
Yeah, be solid. So was what was the guy? Matrix guy. Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves also plays bass. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
you need something to do besides act all the time. So there's a lot of them with different hobbies. You know who Mark Tremonti is?
Sounds kind of familiar. He's a guitarist, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's a guitarist. Yeah, he's a guitarist for Creed and Alter Bridge.
Oh, okay, Creed. Okay,
he's a phenomenal painter. It's crazy.
Oh,
really monster guitar player too, but just a phenomenal painter. If you see him paint, you're like, wow. Well, I mean, you have money and time, so it makes sense. But what is going on here? You're such a good artist. Yeah. Crazy painter, just crazy skilled. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot really. There's what's that comedy actor? Martin. Um, gosh, what's his name? He was in
Why?
Keeper by the Dozen.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I didn't something Martin.
Yeah, Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. Yeah,
Yeah,
basic. Should have just thought basic white guy. Could have
yeah.
thought.
He
Yeah.
he was he had his own like band or something at one point, or I
Yeah.
forgot what he plays, but and then yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of people that play guitar. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's the everyman's instrument, man. You can get a guitar at every price point, take it anywhere. There's really not a lot of limitations of guitar. I think that's why, even though guitar music is not that popular these days, it is still the most popular instrument because it's just so portable and usable and just something
Yeah,
is cool. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I think because I took a huge break when I was a kid, and then when I bought a guitar again, I got it was like a Fender Squire beginner one, and it was only cost me like I think it was on like 140 probably.
yeah, sounds about right.
And it came with an amp.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Little starter kits. Yeah, those
Yeah.
things struggle to stay in tune, but they can be a good starting spot if you just need to buy something. You don't even need to use the amp. I think the amps kind of sound like a kazoo. So sometimes it's just like buy the guitar and leave the amp out of it for now. You can't play anyways. So like guitar, get rid of the amp. The amp you're gonna have to upgrade. You're not gonna want to play that out anywhere. So yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because it won't sound good on stage.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a kazoo. So it's not good tunes, man. Not good. So it's really funny though. It's fun to listen to. It's like guitar fart music, you know. You're like fart.
Maybe they're going for the kazoo look or kazoo sound. It can be
That's
like
everyone's got their own sound. Maybe their sound is the kazoo sound. I don't know who designed those amps, but they need to consider redesigning them.
yeah.
So,
What's the guy's name in Rage Against the Machine? That guitar player?
Tom Morello.
Tom Morello. You know how he does like weird stuff in his guitar? Maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah, he's like a DJ but with a guitar. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like that same thing. He could probably have that amp in his setup to just make a kazoo sound when he wants it.
So okay, you started playing guitar around 15. Did you end up going to like school for music, or did you just do this all on your own?
Yeah, this is all. I mean, it's not all my own as far as like I'm self-taught or anything because I did take lessons for years, but it's all like entrepreneurship. So I teach voice too. I teach guitar. I basically just paid for guitar lessons and vocal lessons. And then I was in school in Pennsylvania and Penn State for like a semester or two. And then I was like, I just want to play guitar and I don't want to do this. And so I left and I took a couple of jobs and then I paid for lessons and voice stuff. And then I eventually came up to Rochester, got a business consultant to help me build my business, teaching program online to help me teach, and kind of piecemealed it all together. 14 years later, we're doing okay. Don't have any freaking student loans and making decent money doing what I like, which is playing guitar and doing some singing music stuff. So pretty sweet. I don't mind it.
And did you just go to like a local like person to give you lessons, or did you go to like a school?
All over. So like, I mean, I had a local guy for a little bit who he was okay. I've had a lot of teachers that were like kind of more that traditional, you walk in, they ask you what song you want to learn, they put the chords on the thing and send you home with it. And it's not necessarily like they're that invested or put a lot of time into the strategy. And I've had some online teachers that were pretty solid too. Like the guy who probably did the most developing in me was more online. And I learned the most from him. But even then, I reflect on my teaching now in comparison to all the teachers I had before. And I'm like, I'm a better teacher than all these people were. And that's really disappointing, you know? So you're like, dang it. They just didn't really care that much. And the online guy was just online. So he had a big student body and a big database. And you weren't always connected right to him. You're connected to people under him. And so they just weren't. I don't think I think he went online like pretty quickly after he started teaching. You know, so I don't know if he necessarily had the same feedback that I've had over the years because I've been in person for like 13 years and I did it for like 40 hours a week for like over a decade, you know, so I've had a lot more feedback and a lot more like, if you give me a guitar problem you're having, I'm going to have a solution. And there's going to be very rare situations when I don't, you know, so at this point I just kind of know how to do it. There's not a lot of learning for me on the teaching side of things going on anymore. So.
Gotcha.
yeah, hopefully
And
that
I mean, say it again.
I said hopefully that answered your question because I went off a little bit on a tangent, like
No,
all the
you're good.
features I've had.
It's all.
Yeah,
It's not. This isn't that structured. It's all good.
that's cool. Okay.
Um, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, so because like with many hobbies nowadays, there's so many different ways to try to learn it. Like, what since we're doing guitar, there's so many things, especially like on Instagram or YouTube, where it's like the guys that are like doing the tapping, they're doing the crazy guitar solos, and then the guys that are like, all right, if you want to play like me, buy my system, and the system is probably like $1,000. Buy my guitar system, and then I'll
Yeah.
teach you how to do this. And who knows, you may buy the videos because, like you were saying earlier, and the guys probably who knows how the videos put together. It could be very just like you were saying, like half-ass, where it's not or maybe the video is good, but you're not getting like feedback on how you're doing it compared to how that guy. So
Yeah.
for you, how do you like to structure your class? Like, let's just say somebody comes in today and they have zero experience on guitar. Where do you start?
Ah, it's fair. So I'll touch base on start. I do want to touch base on the marketing and online stuff of guitar too, because there is a marketing aspect to guitar, and there's very much like an online universe where they're like, hey, if I can get like 300 people, probably more than 300 because it's not enough money, but it's like if I could get 1 million people to pay $50 for this course,
Yeah.
I need is really good marketing. They've already bought the course. It doesn't matter if the course
Yeah,
is
it doesn't matter the quality.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of it is the marketing of guitar, which people fall subject to, which is the one trick to make your guitar playing blah da da. And also like, here's all these different things you can do, or like, we'll make you this good in 3 months. And it's not really how it works. There are standards for kind of what to do and kind of how to do it, but generally speaking, there's a lot of aspects of guitar online that are just a waste of money. I would say the vast majority of people who buy products online waste their money in doing so. Mostly because they don't have the fundamentals, like you were saying, into the question we're going to get into, which was like, hey, what do you do with someone who's brand new? Most of these people, even if they've been playing for 3 years, don't have their fundamentals together. So products online, not useful. Also, it's a bunch of different tactics that go with their specific strategy, and you might not have everything together to actually make use of those tactics or the knowledge base. So there's the aspect of people trying to learn guitar online who do not have any feedback on their guitar playing. But then there's also guitar teachers. There's a lot of people who teach online or sell products online who have done very little in-person teaching. And so they have gotten no feedback on their teaching. So they're selling you a product when they have no feedback on their teaching, besides if they're online, like some words in a review that worked for the one person out of like 50, right? And so they think it works because it worked for that one person who just might be a little more naturally talented. So it's just online is a weird mess of people just not getting feedback on anything. And so there's no feedback loop, which means the learning process doesn't work correctly. So the first thing I would tell somebody who's brand new to guitar is to avoid online lessons, because there's no feedback for the teacher, there's no feedback for the student, and that can work sometimes, but it doesn't really produce a meaningful result. And you can get what you could get in 5 or 6 years online in 1 year in person, So it is worthwhile to make the commitment. Doesn't mean all in-person teachers are good. There's a lot of them that are not. So just like most services and businesses, right? Like say like 70% of them are kind of, and like not really worth your time. It doesn't mean that it's still not going to be better to get some sort of in-person feedback than it would be elsewhere. As far as like where to start, I guess I kind of already alluded to that. Avoid the online stuff. If I'm doing my classes, usually we have to do an evaluation because a beginner could be anywhere. Sometimes you got beginners that come in that have 3 years worth of experience, but they're still beginners because they have a whole bunch of bad habits. So there's an evaluation that goes on so that we can kind of peek under the hood and see what's working, see what's not, and be like, we need to change the oil here, that type of deal. But for most people who are brand spanking new, it's just learning about how to get around the neck without boning yourself in the process. Most people, they get stuck in the very beginning, which is just getting from point A to point B smoothly. And they do a bunch of things that they shouldn't be doing, and they have no idea what not to do. So we typically have a pretty simple developed system to kind of help people through that so they can learn how to get through the neck and they won't need to ask me, hey, how do I get to this new chord after that point? Because they should just know, you know? So that's the idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too where I think, especially when it comes to, well, I guess it depends on how you learn, but for me, trying to do things online, because when I was trying to do, because when I first got a guitar, well, I was like 10, and I was trying to do it. I would look up like thunderstruck tabs or something,
Yeah.
and then I would try to do it, and I'm like, this doesn't sound good. um, but also at the time I couldn't afford like lessons or anything. So, but yeah, that makes sense. I think feedback, especially with music, at least for how I would try to learn it, it would be very important.
Yeah. I mean, something's better than nothing. If you can't afford lessons, then you do what you can, right? If you really want to play, you go figure it out. It's just a lot harder to do. I don't think there's a single person I would say will get a better result online than they would in person, at least initially. Like the way my course is set up is to get you the fundamentals you need. And I might actually try to make like an online extension of what I do to see if I can make something good for people who are beginners and brand new. That's a little more affordable, but I haven't started on that yet. Either way, the idea being if you have your fundamentals together, all this supplementary stuff, all this genre specific stuff, it becomes useful and relevant. It's just most people do not have their fundamentals together, and fundamentals can take you with in-person instruction 2 or 3 years just to get down. So on your own, trying to get fundamentals down when you don't really know what the fundamentals are, and it's already going to take you 5 to 6 times longer to get the same results, if not longer, depending on what pit holes you fall into, being unsure what exactly you should be doing, it's a much slower process. So if you can commit, even if it's a little bit, and it's like you can only take 2 lessons a month, that's not great. It's not going to be super great progress, but it's going to be better than what you were doing just with no feedback loop, because that's what it comes down to. Learning is a feedback loop. You need to try to do it, you need to fail, and then you need to reevaluate, right? Or have someone reevaluate with you. And if you don't do that, if you don't have that reevaluation, or you don't even know if you're failing, you just know you can't do it. There's no reevaluation, there's no feedback, there's no way to move the ball forward. So it's great supplementary material online, but it will never be a great replacement for fundamentals and beginners. And I'm sure that's the same for jiu-jitsu or any other type of learning environment or study, because it's just, you need feedback. You're not going to get any, and neither is the person teaching you. So they're just hoping to get views, and they're not really entirely concerned about what your end result is, as long as you're entertained by the video. So
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Usually, do your students see you? Is it once a week, or do some people go a few times a week? How does that work for you guys?
yeah, I mean, we got people who come 3 times a week. We got people who come 2. We got people who come 1. It's just really a matter of what they want out of it. So if they want more help, or they want to do less of the grindy stuff at home, because the beginning of guitar is grindy. It is a front heavy instrument, meaning all the work is right in the beginning. Once you get through that first like year or so, and you learn the basics and you have fundamentals together, guitar is really not that hard. It's just very much the beginning of guitar is difficult. So it seems like it has a high barrier to entry. And I guess technically it does have a high barrier to entry, but the actual long term, I think it's easier than a lot of instruments. So I think short term, way harder than a lot of instruments. Long term, much easier than other instruments. So it's just kind of, can you grin and bear the hard part to get to the part where it's fulfilling and not that bad?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I remember for me it was like chords, trying to do chords at first, found impossible. I
Yeah,
mean, I never learned how to do them,
yeah.
but I know like the time I did play, I eventually I would have got it, obviously, but
How
that
long
felt like nearly
were
impossible.
you around? Were you around for like 6 months or so? How long were you around?
Yeah, it was all like sporadic.
Yeah, yeah, fair. Um, yeah, because yeah, and that's part of it. There's like a consistency, a commitment, and then like a certain amount that's needed. I prefer to see people who are new, like beginners, 2 times a week, like, or stuck in a rut 2 times a week, because most of them, their problem is they don't know how to practice to actually get a result. So the more time they spend at home is not actually going to be meaningful or produce anything meaningful. It's like, I just want to see you do it wrong in front of me so I can correct it. And the more I can correct it, the sooner I can correct it, the more you're going to reap meaningful benefits when you're on your own. So
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And something that we definitely need to touch on before we forget, because you also do vocal lessons as well.
Yeah.
Do you have a similar path with when you started playing guitar versus when you started doing vocal lessons, or did that come in later in life?
I mean, I always sang a little bit when I was younger or whatnot. I didn't decide to actually start pursuing voice as a study until I was probably like 18 and I was playing in a band and they asked me if I could sing. And I was like, well, if I'm going to sing, I'm going to do this right. And I'm going to figure out how to do this. And so I did start taking vocal lessons then. Vocal lessons are way more expensive, than guitar lessons on average. They're worth doing, but it's also like guitar, that it's a very front heavy instrument. I think voice is more front heavy, and that it takes like a few years to get good at it instead of like a year and a half. It's really like a 3-year commitment before you're really going to get where you want to be or even close. Worth it, worth it. Once you get your fundamentals down, you tend to be better than everyone else, and it doesn't require that much because no one else has their fundamentals down. But it is 3 years of crap and mud and not good. It's not. It sucks, you know. So it's not a great process by any stretch.
Yeah. And I've done both with you. Once again, not like long enough to see like super long-term results.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, to me at least, vocal felt a little bit easier. Not that I was good at it, but in the sense that it just like, I don't know, something about it made more sense to me. Like guitar felt like math or something. I just
The voice was like,
maybe because you use your voice more, it's more natural to just talk and have up and down like your sound. And yeah.
voice is like the gym too. It's groups of muscles and you have to train them for coordination and for strength. And so just like going to the gym, there's a beginner bump with voice. The first like 3 months, 4 months, you're going to see some changes pretty significantly. It's after those 3 months where you would then hit the wall and you're going like 6 months, and voice is like a lot of nothing, and then you figure something out, and it's a eureka moment, and you get quite a bit better, you know. So it's not like guitar where you can visibly see the progress over time. It's a lot of nothing until you figure something out, and then you get a lot better. So it's just this occasional eureka moment, and that's what you're looking for. And that takes time. There's no rushing it, unfortunately. It would be great if there was, but it's just a lot of nothing and then faith. A lot of nothing and faith and frustration. And that's voice. I think voice is, I haven't played all the instruments, so I wouldn't be able to attest to that. It's like one of the hardest instruments, but to me, it is the most frustrating as far as like overall progress and gains that you see for the amount of time you have to commit to it. Because in order to see even meaningful gains in 3 years, you really got to be doing like 50 minutes of it 5 times a week for 3 years and just like sucking for 3 years at that, just accepting that, and
Yeah.
that's tough for a lot of people to sit in that spot. And it's voice. So it's a very personal thing for people.
Yeah.
You tell someone their voice is bad, they're like, I can't replace it. Like I can't buy a new voice. No. So it's just a very personal thing for people.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like for me, because I actually did lessons with you. I think we did it online a little bit, and then I did some at gosh, what's that school called? It's like a famous
Eastman?
music. Say it again, Eastman.
Eastman School of Music?
Yeah, they had community courses you can do. Not because I wasn't enrolled in the school, but I did it for however many months, and that was pretty cool. And then I would just practice on my own, but it got to a point where I was like, it definitely, like you said, it's pricey. It's not like it's something that's cheap.
It's not, especially not Eastman. They'll charge you $80-100 an hour.
Yeah, well, no, it was actually because it was the community course. It was, I believe the price was like $750 for 3 months, I think.
Oh, that's a terrible. $750 for 3 months is $250 a month. It's not awful. That's actually fairly cool. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't speak for them, so I don't know. It's something like that.
Supposed to be right from the record. Yeah. It from the record.
No, but the guy there was pretty cool. I did lessons with his name was Josh. But what was I gonna say with that? Oh yeah, so I was so like I would do the lessons with you, and then I did it with him, and like you said, it does feel personal because like I've if I'm telling like a friend like, oh yeah, I did like voice lessons, but like I can't sing. I never got to the point where I felt like, because
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it takes years. It takes years.
That makes sense. 'Cause if I were to sing now, it would just feel embarrassing. You're like, never mind. I never did lessons. I lied.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to maintain like any skill. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been sick for the last 2.5 months for the most part. So I haven't really done much singing in the last 2.5 months. I probably won't restart in February. And I've also geared my life a little more focused towards guitar. So I've taken a break from performing and taken a break from singing. So when I go back to it, that shit is gonna be rusty. It's gonna be dusty. I'm gonna have to dust those cabos off. Now I'm kind of professional at it, so it's not gonna take me forever to get it back up to speed. It'll probably take me like a month of like consistent practice to get it where it was. But it's a month where it's gonna sound like because it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the coordination. It's trying to remember how to do all this stuff I used to do every day for like an hour that I just haven't been doing as much as of late, and I don't know yet when I will get back to it, but we will see. We'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense. How many of your students usually do both, like crossover between guitar and singing?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm not teaching a whole lot of voice, so I took a step back from that, so none right now. But back in the day, I'd say of my vocal students, which ones did both? Not that many. There are definitely some who are interested in doing both. Maybe like 5%. That's generous.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a small percentage. I think mostly within the way my system works, it's not like I charged people more for voice lessons or made them pay extra because they want to do voice. I just let them take like one guitar and one voice if they wanted to do both. So I definitely think for the people who are very interested in that, my program worked because it was like suited to that. If you wanted it, it's very easy to do both. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so because you've also obviously have done some live performances you've done. I mean, I've seen you a few times, and I think were you like in bands and stuff growing up, right?
Yeah, I had a few bands growing up and a few bands during like college age. I was originally born in Pennsylvania, so State College, Pennsylvania, which is Penn State's main campus. So I played at some tailgates for Penn State games a lot, and that was pretty fun. And we played at some other random stuff too. Over the last like 6 years, I've gigged more, but I definitely stopped gigging quite a bit when I was building my business, like probably from 22, maybe 21, maybe 21 all the way to like 26, 27. I really wasn't gigging much. 27 to the last like 3-4 months, I was gigging more regularly, meaning like, I guess it's not fair. When I was 24, 25, I gigged, but it was like once every couple of months. But in the last like 3 or 4 years, it's been more like I gigged once a week to twice a week. Especially the last 2 years, I gigged a lot. But I've been taking a break from that because that is a lot of work, man. It's a lot. So worth doing, but then running all these business locations on top of it was a little overwhelming, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, so do you have any like embarrassing moments when you were like first gigging when you were like younger, or just overall? Like, do you have any good stories on that?
embarrassing moments when I was gigging. So it's different because like when you're younger, you're not thinking about certain things you do when you're gigging. So like they're not embarrassing in the moment, but you reflect on it and you're like, oh, please no. Yeah. So you can do some corny stuff when you're gigging. And then the other thing that's annoying is like when you gig and you play a song enough times, you start to get memories connected to that song. And so when that song comes up on the radio, you know, we're just listening to the music, it brings up the memories. And maybe you just more memories on each song or something, but sometimes that makes it like you don't want to listen to this song, not because the memory's bad, but because it's attached to this memory. And now I'm thinking about the memory, which is leading me down this rabbit hole. And so I don't want to say I necessarily have like real pointed, oh, that was embarrassing moments. Everyone does. Like but even recently I can think, I mean, it's part of being a musician. You're going to mess up in front of people and you kind of have to be okay with that. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a good time being a musician. And the nice part is once you do something dumb, you could be like, well, doesn't matter now. Like, it's already done. This is their opinion now. It's solidified. Because there are times when I would play a solo and I was just like 1 fret off and I played half a solo out of key and you're like, oh crap, and you just have to like shift, or you like try to dance on stage when you're an awkward 15-year-old and you're like, dude, you know, and you reflect on that, and you're like, some of that worked, some of that did not, you know. So,
Yeah.
but that's like life or trying to do anything anyways, is like, you know, if you're not willing to fail and look dumb, you're probably not going to get that far. So, because part of getting somewhere is accepting that some people are going to go, ew, that's weird. And you're like, yeah, you're right. You know, not doing that again, you know, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
feedback, right? So,
I mean, I've seen a lot of definitely like, they'll call it like, I guess like a cringe compilations or whatever of musicians on stage. Like there's like a bunch of those on YouTube where it's
yeah,
not even. It's just like, it's like with somebody that's trying to do something that they think is cool. Maybe like they try to flip their guitar, or they
yeah,
not flip their guitar, spin their guitar like
you like twirl it around and
yeah, or
grab, and
just
the
like
cap comes loose and the guitar goes flying.
yeah, or there's a bunch of those are just like somebody's amp completely gets unplugged and they just got to try to figure it out and they feel embarrassed, little stuff like that. But
Yeah, even professionals have those. Like, I don't
yeah,
remember. Dang, I don't, not Slash. There was DJ Ashaba or something. Whatever Guns N' Roses' more recent, newer guitar player was playing
okay.
a solo. He muffed up a solo live once, and somebody had him recording, and they just went up on YouTube, and there's just a bunch of people blasting about how he's trash, and like he's just sitting there like, "Come on, I play this all the time. Sometimes you mess up, you know." Those are probably not the people who are up on stage playing, though, because if they're that judgmental, they're probably also really insecure about their own playing, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, but it's just like, I mean, this is gonna happen. Sometimes you're just gonna flub some shit, and that's okay. That's part of music. I mean, it's not about being perfectly executed. It's just supposed to be like a performance. It's supposed to be real. It's supposed to be like in the moment. So sometimes in the moment is like not so good. So
Yeah, definitely have.
yeah.
And you were saying that you have 3 locations right now.
Yeah, I have 3 business locations. This is why I pulled back from forming for a bit, because I have one up in Buffalo, then I have 2 in Rochester. So I've been trying to manage those. Once I can get myself to a point where I'm a little bit more off the teaching staff, then I'll have a lot more time to pursue like performing things or build more businesses if I want to. I'm kind of just at a crossroads for my own life about what I want to do with it. If I'm going to find more meaning in performing and writing music and releasing it and marketing it, or if I'm going to find more of what I want out of just building my business and enjoying my money and stuff. So it's nice. So it's not a bad problem, I suppose. I think whichever choice I make, I will enjoy myself regardless. It's just about making a choice. So
No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think what's it called? What's I gonna say? Having the different businesses, because what made you open up the different locations? I know you had one originally, and then what made you go up in Buffalo?
well, what made me build it is simply like, if a business isn't growing, it's generally going backwards. It doesn't really maintain. And what I mean by that is, let's say I get what I want from that business. I'm making the money I want. I'm living the lifestyle I want, all that jazz. I'm very comfortable. I'm content with where I'm at in my life. Doesn't mean my employees are. And I work hard to train my employees. I invest a lot in them. So if they're unhappy, eventually they leave. Also, nobody wants to be stuck. So if you stop growing the thing, then those people are going to be like, well, I don't want to just make the same amount of money for the rest of my life because I'm not content with the amount of money I'm making, but also I would just like to make more and do new things. Then eventually those employees leave and you have to replace them with people who are not as good, right? At least at the moment, because you have to retrain them up. So my reasoning for building the business further is because if I would like to pay them more and give them more to do and new things and cool things to do, and if I would like the business to keep growing, or at the very least not go backwards, then it needs to grow. And if it needs to grow, bottom line needs to grow. And I think for the most part, I've tapped out what I can really make with a guitar business in Rochester. It's profitable, it does well. But if I want that revenue line going up, I'm going to need to scale it. And so I've been in the process of learning how to scale it over the last 3 to 4 years. And once I figure that out, then I have a lot more options. So about what I want to do with the actual business, and can give people full-time jobs and all that jazz. So it's really not scaling because I'm not content, because I do live a pretty good life and I enjoy everything I do, and it's nice to wake up. And it would be honestly great to spend more time writing music than on the business. However, I also know that my life as it is not stationary. And so it's going to depend on my ability to continue to produce, but also to produce more for the people who want more, for me to maintain what I have and also grow it a little bit if I want to. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And how many teachers do you currently have on staff?
I mean, we teach a lot of small groups, so I don't need too many. I have like 6, maybe 7. Hold on. Yeah, 7 on staff between 3 locations. So
Okay.
the 2 Rochester locations tend to share teachers, so they just tend to drive. So I'd say about
Fair.
3 or 4 at that location. Yeah, 4 at that location, 3 at the other. So in Buffalo.
So, all right, 6 people at hand. Okay, and it's pretty much it's one of those things for you where you've taught all. I mean, like you said, it's gonna take you a while to teach them all the system that you like, how you guys go about doing things. And for you, when you guys are teaching your students, is it like do you like to split it up where it's like, okay, where this is the beginner course, now we're gonna move to intermediate and advanced, or is it just like you just let everybody have their own journey, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they move at their own pace for the most part. The way it's set up is more to deal with specific skill sets than anything else. And we do have fundamentals that are geared towards that. And then everything after the fundamentals is really more genre specific. So it's not necessarily like, hey, we're beginner and intermediate and then advanced. It's more just skill sets, get those skill sets for the goals that you want and what you want out of this. And then after that, I'm just not quite as concerned. So
Yeah, it's not like something where it's like, all right, these are the ranks we're gonna move up to.
yeah, I mean, we do have like a ranking system for fun that's like, hey, if you get to level 25, you're now intermediate and stuff like that. But it's not like that has to be the route everyone goes, or there's a specific route everyone needs to do. It's really dependent on what their end goals are, because certain goals require certain skill sets and other ones just don't. So if someone just wants to do singer-songwriter stuff, I might teach them how to do some basic picking mechanics so they can play a melody, but I am not going to stress overdoing some sort of lead soloing that's just unnecessary for where they're at and what they
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah.
Man, nowadays, like, where do you feel like you're? I mean, there's probably you have probably a bunch of different ranges of ages and just
Yeah.
people in different walks of life. But do you feel like people still are interested in playing their own stuff, or is it just like, hey, I just want to play my favorite song?
Well, it's a local market. So I think local market is more off than play my favorite songs, learn a skill, have a hobby that's not watching Netflix, stuff like that. So I don't want to say that we get a whole lot of like super serious guitar players. We do, but that's probably like 5 to 10% of them. 90% of the student body is going to be more moderate, mild goals, than it's for fun and personal enjoyment for them, and they like learning and all that jazz. So most of them are not going to go play in a band, and they don't have a huge desire to do so. So they still play like at our recitals and our showcases, but they're just not that invested in like, hey, I'm going to go find a band on Craigslist and we're going to go gig around Rochester. And then when we get huge, we're going to go to New York and we're going to play Madison Square Garden. I would not argue that is most of their goals for sure.
Well, so you guys have what would you say a recital you do? So is it like do you have like a timeline when you do it, or how do you like to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like every 3 to 4 months or so. We usually skip the summer because it's hard to schedule around people's like plans in the summer, who's going to be around, who's not. And it's kind of less of a recital and a showcase and more of like guitar karaoke. So basically go out to a local bar and we set up some speakers, and I get a bunch of song tracks where we essentially remove the guitars so all the students can play the guitars over the tracks and like take leads and add their own lead parts and or create their own guitar parts if they want to for the songs and just kind of have fun with it. So it's a good time. We drink, we eat, we play guitar, and it's fun.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I feel like I think there was something similar to like I know their schools do something similar in that way that they'll be like, all right, after your course is up, your semester is up, so to speak, we're gonna have a show for you. Is there anybody that just doesn't want to do it though? They're just like, nah, I'm too nervous or scared or
I mean, the event is optional, so I don't force anybody to do it. There is an aspect of it where I let people volunteer. If I don't get all the slots filled up from volunteering, I do go headhunting and recruiting. So I go find some new blood because it is fun to do. It's good to get yourself out of there, and we try to keep it pretty low maintenance. Like if you mess it up, no one's going to care. No one's probably going to even notice. So it's just really like there to have fun and have a good time. So if I can get people out of their bedroom and playing guitar in front of people, we usually have a decent crowd, usually like maybe 70, 80 people. So it's fun to just kind of like get people up in front of people and like go play guitar, and just have a good time with it. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that definitely sounds like a good time. Yeah. And before we wrap this up, I just wanted to touch base on the earlier we are talking about there's a lot of online content with guitar as far as being like, oh, this guy's are doing all these fancy, whether it's tapping or soloing. Do you feel like there's like a similar aspect when it comes to singing that people will see like these professional sounding musicians and they kind of want to sound like that right away? Do you feel like it's the same mindset with some new students, or do you just feel like it's one of those things where like best to just do things in person instead of trying to do like online stuff as well?
I feel like voice is more that way than guitar, predominantly
Really?
because it's inside of you. I don't think you can get much from doing voice online as far as like over YouTube videos. If you have an online teacher, I think that's a different story. It's still, I think, useful to do something in person. But voice is very much like the teacher operates as a personal coach that can kind of guide you in the right direction, but you have to figure it out because it's your body. So they can tell you it's not right, and here's what you should be aiming for, but it's your job to figure out and interpret what it is they're saying that's going to actually help you. The other aspect of that is voice is also probably one of the most popular instruments to have as a skill, and that it's the most admirable musical skill set. Uh, but it's not like because of that, there's a lot of people of the like, oh, 3 month singer, 1 month singer. I'm gonna
Yeah.
most of the time I see Instagram vocal coaches and marketing products, they're not any good. And the guy's not even a great singer himself. So like they're mid most of the time. So I don't particularly take to a lot of vocal products. I think most of them are by people who are hacks and people who like taught one professional once before a show and now they constantly say they're this person's vocal coach, but they literally
Sure.
only them once before a show while they were coming through the city, because they needed to get their voice worked out a little bit. So yeah, I'm not particularly bought in by a lot of vocal coaches, but vocal pedagogy, which is like training philosophy,
Yeah.
is kind of a lion's den. So there's a lot of people who just ignore things and it's not very congruent or very specific. I think that's the way a lot of guitar stuff is too. So yeah, I don't think going the YouTube route or self-taught route and voice works at all. Way better to get someone who can advise you, point you in the right direction, make sure you like their voice and have heard their voice. Don't buy their stuff if you've never heard them sing. And if they're kind of mid, recognize that if they're training you, you're probably going to sound kind of mid because that's the only thing they're going to be able to produce is what they can do, So they have the
Yeah.
blueprint for their voice.
It's funny you're saying all that too, because it's like it reminds me so much of like, because I've been I like prior to talking to you, for example, I was doing a Spanish lesson because I improved my Spanish, and
Mhm.
it's funny whenever you see like online people will be like get fluent in 90 days, and I'm like as someone who's been doing it for like a year, it's like that is literally impossible.
Yeah. Good luck.
There's
Yeah.
no way you're gonna get fluent in a language in 90 days or whatever.
No, but that's the marketing
Yeah,
of voice or the marketing of guitar, right? Is that they
right.
probably know that that's not true, but they're not trying to be truthful. They're trying to get you to buy their product once. And they know that if they use that verbiage, that's going to sell
Yeah,
more copies and more product. So it's not really necessarily about being completely honest.
yeah,
It's more about like, can I get you to click buy? And if I can get you to click buy, it's a whole world out there. Somebody it's going to work for, they're going to perceive it as good value. They're going to leave me a good review. It's going to work out. I'm going to get more people to buy it. So it's more about the psychology of selling which is kind of oily salesman like. Unfortunately, what a lot of online products are is that it's
Yeah.
kind of like modern day used car salesman, you know. So a lot of these people don't have a lot of background in it. Even if they're a good guitar player, a lot of them are not good teachers, right? Or haven't really taught in person. So they're not good teachers. They're not gonna be able to like really guide you through the process. They're just like, look at me being awesome, and here I go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and in-person teachers who are like that too. So it's not like it's foolproof. You do have to be a little patient, figure it out, work with some people who are not that great, and go where you need to go.
Yeah. Because if you say like, become intermediate in guitar in 3 years, it doesn't sound as good.
It's not going to sell. Yeah, it's not going to sell. So it's I understand why they do it, because they got a product and they want to make money off it, and they invested time in it, and they believe it's good enough to produce results. But very often it is a habit of overselling and under-delivering when it comes to online programs. I bought one program. I'm not going to name it because I don't think that's fair, but I bought a program. I went and did an evaluation with these guys. This is back when I was probably like 22, 23, maybe I was 24 at the time or something. And it was a guitar program. And there was always this piece I felt like I was missing in my guitar playing. And I was like, I got to figure this out. I'm going to pay the money because I don't care. I just want to figure out what this piece is because it feels like there's something missing. And I took the course. The course was $8,000. So I paid them $8,000.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Now $8,000. They were based in like a more expensive market. So I think part of that, like that money, I think it probably would have been like $5,000 if it was in like the East Coast or up in near upstate we are. But they were in a more expensive market. So $8,000, whatever, as long as it fixes my issue. And I did the evaluation with these guys and they said, hey, we know what you're missing. We can fix your issue. Well, I took their course, I did the whole thing, and I don't use anything that was ever in that program at this point, and it did not fix my problem. And I spent $8,000 on it. And what it did do is teach me a couple things that were useful. And then over a couple years, or what I did, because it annoyed me enough that it wasn't fixed, is eventually I solved my own issue and figured it out, right? Within like that year of having bought it. But I recognized I went through all these teachers who could not explain to me what was missing and what was wrong and couldn't connect it cleanly for me until I found the solution myself. So yeah, a lot of it's just like use salesmen. Even if they say it fixes your issue, doesn't mean it's going to actually fix your issue. And that's the frustrating part about buying things online, even if they have decent reviews, which many of them do, is that very often it's by people who were not really clear on what they needed, or what they needed was a lot simpler and it wasn't super niche or specific, and it's just going to resolve it for them. So learning process, a lot of money to spend on something that didn't really produce value for me, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean that happens, and we could go in a rabbit hole, and this happens to, language learning. This happens with guys that want to see results in the gym, guitar teacher, drum teacher, so many things that people just market, and then it's just false.
Yes, it's not very useful. Yeah, so my general opinion on a lot of like online stuff is I just don't perceive it to be particularly desirable in most cases, as far as like its ability to get us a good result. So
that makes sense. All right. Well, yeah, this has been very fun. We hit up a lot of different topics. I feel like this is a good time for us to wrap up. So thank you so much for being here, Chris. Once again, this is the Tell Me About It podcast, and for anybody that's gonna be watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, maybe if you guys want. I think I got like 3 subscribers right now.
The 3 is good. It's growth.
Probably like friends or whatever. Yeah.
Nip these larger podcasts into little smaller chunks.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time, and we'll be just whatever random other topic that I got in mind. So see you guys next time.